grade 9 learners. I am Teacher Roby and I will be your science teacher for today. As a student in the higher grade, you are now busier juggling academic works, extracurricular activities, and personal lives. Surely, there are instances that made your heart rapidly beating and somehow took your breath away. It could be an oral recitation, a surprise quiz, or simply the person you have a crush on just passed by. Now, if you are wondering how your body systems made you feel this way, let us discover it in this video lesson. The lesson that we are going to discuss today is under the branch of science called biology. The most essential competency for this lesson is to explain how the respiratory and circulatory system work together to transport nutrients, gases, and other molecules to and from the different parts of the body. For the learning targets, in this lesson, the learners will be able to identify the parts of respiratory system and circulatory system, explain the function of the different organs of respiratory system and circulatory system, describe blood flow and gas exchange within the heart, circulatory system, and lungs. Differentiate the types of circulation: pulmonary, coronary, and systemic circulation. Explain the flow of blood in the three types of circulation, and recognize the importance of respiratory and circulatory system in the proper functioning of the human body. This time, grade 9 learners, grab your activity notebook and pen, and I want you to try answering this short quiz about the lesson. Let us find out how much you know about the respiratory and circulatory system. So let us start. Directions. Choose the letter of the correct answer and write it in your notebook. 1. What type of circulation moves blood between the heart and lungs? A. Blood circulation. B. Systemic circulation. C. Pulmonary circulation. D. Systematic circulation. Number 2. What is the function of the pulmonary valve? A. It pumps blood and transports oxygen to every cell of the body. B. It increases the blood flow to our lungs and deliver more oxygen. C. It is where the blood enters and exits in the heart for the circulation. D. It prevents blood in pulmonary circulation from flowing back into the heart during diastole. Number 3. What type of blood is transported by the systemic circulation out to the cells? A. Concentrated. B. Deoxygenated. C. Diluted. D. Oxygenated. Number 4. What happens to your diaphragm after breathing out? A. The diaphragm expands and contracts afterwards. B. The diaphragm and ribs return to their original place. C. The diaphragm maintains its size and exchanges gases. D. The diaphragm moves down and expands the chest cavity. Number 5. Which of the following is not an advantage of exercise to a healthy and better functioning of hearts and lungs? A. It improves cholesterol and lowers blood pressure. B. It burns up adipose tissues in the body for a better physique. C. It increases the blood flow to our lungs and oxygen into the blood. D. It helps the efficiency of the heart muscles to pump blood throughout the body. Did you find the short quiz difficult? Do not worry. We are going to discover more about the respiratory system and circulatory system as we move on with our lesson. This time, let us do this activity. Directions: decode the jumbled letters based on the given description. Number 1. The main airway of the lungs that is located below the larynx. 2. The main respiratory muscle that contracts and relaxes to allow air into the lungs. 3. It is found inside the nose with a sticky mucous membrane lining with cilia that traps dust and tiny particles. 4. It carries oxygen-rich blood away from the heart and to where it needs to go. 5. It is the smallest blood vessels in the body that connects the smallest arteries to the smallest veins. 6. These are two large veins that empty into the right atrium. Now we have here the word bank that will help you unlock the difficult words that you are going to encounter in this lesson. This time, let us explore the respiratory system through this activity. Directions: perform the activity and write your answers in the activity notebook. This activity is entitled "What a Bunch of Grapes." Objective: identify the key parts of the breathing system. For the material, you will be needing a bunch of grapes or any other bunch of fruits or vegetables such as arrosep or lato or seaweed, lanzones, cauliflower, and etc. For the procedure, first, hold up the bunch of grapes. Let the bunch of grapes represent the breathing system. Second, locate the parts of the breathing system. The main stem as the trachea, the large branching stems as the bronchi, and all the little stems as the bronchioles. The individual grapes are the air sacs or alveoli. Third, one by one, gently take out some of the grapes to expose more of the branching stems or bronchioles. Observe its structure. Fourth, trace the pathway of oxygen using the bunch of grapes model. Note that air moves from the nose or the nasal cavity and mouth or oral cavity to the trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and then into the alveoli or air sacs. The air we breathe carries the gas oxygen. When we breathe, the oxygen goes to the lungs. After performing the activity, let us identify the different parts of the respiratory system using the bunch of grapes as comparison. Choose your answers from the given box. Let us continue exploring the respiratory system in the part B of the activity. But this time, we are going to use a human body system. Objective: describe the function of each part of the breathing system. For the procedure, refer to the diagram that will be projected on your screen, label each part, and give its functions. Write your answers in your activity notebook. This is the diagram that you are going to answer. I'll be giving you 5 minutes to answer, so please pause this video for a while. Next, answer the following guide questions. Number 1. What does each part of the bunch of grapes model represent in relation to the breathing system? Number 2. How will you describe the pathway of oxygen in the breathing system? Number 3. What will happen if one part of the system fails to carry out its function properly? Still, I'll be giving you 5 minutes to answer, so please pause this video for a while. Well done, grade 9 learners, for completing the activity. This time, we are going to move on to another activity entitled Let's Organize. For the objectives, first, identify the components of the circulatory system. Second, explain the different types of circulation. For the procedure, first, using the given graphic organizers A and B, fill in the missing parts, which are description and functions, to complete the entire concept. Second, copy the graphic organizers in your activity notebook. Just pause the video for a while and copy the graphic organizers. This is the graphic organizer A. And this is the graphic organizer B. For the guide questions, number 1, explain how the heart works. Number 2, how can the heart be compared to a mechanical pump? Now I'll be giving you 5 minutes to answer these questions, so please pause this video for a while. Good job, grade 9 learners, for completing the graphic organizers. This time, we are going to proceed with the discussion of our lesson, so kindly get your notebook and pen and take note of the important details. Respiratory system is made up of the organs in the body that help us to breathe. Circulatory system is responsible for distributing materials throughout the body relating to circulation. Now, let us get to know the different parts of the respiratory system and its function. Nasal passage is the channel for airflow through the nose. Trachea is the empty tube that serves as passageway of air into the lungs. Bronchi are the two branching tubes that connect the trachea to the lungs. Bronchioles are the hair-like tubes that connect to the alveoli. Alveoli are the air sacs that allow gas exchange in the lungs. The air we breathe goes through the nose, nasal passages, and then through the trachea or windpipe, which separates into two branches called bronchial tubes or bronchi, one entering each lung. The bronchi subdivide many times inside the lungs, analogous to the branching pattern of grapes, finally becoming hair-like tubes called bronchioles. In the last part of the terminal bronchioles are tiny bubble-like bunch of structures called alveoli or air sacs.
The respiratory system moves air through the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, and bronchus to the alveoli where the gas exchange between oxygen and carbon dioxide occurs. Nares are the openings to the nose. The nasal cavity is lined with cilia, mucous membranes, and blood capillaries. The air is filtered by cilia, moistened by mucous membranes, and warmed by the blood. Air moves into the pharynx or throat, the common passageway for food and air. Air continues on to the larynx. The epiglottis, a flap of tissue in front of the larynx, closes off the larynx when swallowing to prevent food from entering. The larynx or voice box contains the vocal folds. The trachea or windpipe connects the larynx to the bronchial tree. The cartilage rings of the trachea prevent the trachea from collapsing. Lungs are spongy tissue with alveoli and blood capillaries. Breathing occurs because of the expansion and contraction of the lungs. The bronchi carrying the air subdivide into smaller branches called bronchioles. At the end of each bronchiole are the alveolar sacs. The alveolar sacs are surrounded by blood capillaries and contain millions of single-layer alveoli cells where the gas exchange takes place. Oxygenated air goes from the nose to the pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, and alveoli. By the process of diffusion, oxygen in the air moves from the alveoli to the capillaries. Carbon dioxide moves from the capillaries to the alveoli and is exhaled. This process is called respiration.
Now, let us discuss the difference between inhalation and exhalation. In inhalation, diaphragm muscle contracts, moves the diaphragm down and expands the chest cavity. Ribs move up and increase the size of the chest cavity. More space, less air pressure inside the lungs. On the other hand, in exhalation, diaphragm muscle relaxes. The diaphragm and ribs return to their original place. Chest cavity returns to its original size and less space, greater air pressure inside the lungs. This time, let us watch a short video on how the diaphragm moves during inhalation and exhalation.
During inspiration, the diaphragm contracts and increases the volume or area of the thoracic cavity. This increase in volume results in a decrease in pressure in the lungs, which causes air to rush from the atmosphere, a higher pressure, into the lungs, a lower pressure. During expiration, the diaphragm returns to a relaxed upward position, reducing the volume or area in the thoracic cavity. Air pressure increases within the lungs at this position, a higher pressure, and forces the air out of the lungs into the atmosphere.
Now let us tackle the three major parts of the circulatory system. We have the heart, blood vessels, and blood. For the heart, it pumps the blood throughout the body. Blood vessels carry the blood throughout the body. Blood carries the materials throughout the body. Now we have here the three types of blood vessels: artery, vein, and capillary. For its features, artery has thick, elastic wall and small lumen. Vein has thin wall, large lumen, and valve. Capillary has single cell wall. For its functions, arteries carry oxygenated blood away from the heart to the cells, tissues, and organs of the body. Veins carry deoxygenated blood away to the heart. Capillaries, the smallest blood vessels, the actual site where gases and nutrients are exchanged. This time, let us discover the different parts of the heart and how it distributes blood throughout the body. Take note of the important details. These are the different parts of the heart, and we have here the animation of the flow of blood inside the heart. There are three types of blood circulation. First is the pulmonary circulation, which is the movement of blood from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart. Second is the coronary circulation, which is the movement of blood through the tissues of the heart. Third is the systemic circulation, which is the movement of blood from the heart to the rest of the body, excluding the lungs. Try to look at this diagram of blood circulation. Have you ever thought how the respiratory system and circulatory system work together? Let us discover and watch this video. Do not forget to take down notes for your references.
The cardiovascular system and respiratory system provide vital support for our blood as well as our immune system. To begin with, blood circulates in the body through a network of vessels that begin and end at the heart, which is the circulatory pump. Actually, the heart has two pumps, which work in tandem to coordinate with the lungs as well as the vessels to keep blood moving constantly, delivering nutrients and removing waste from the tissues of the body. The process starts in the lungs, where red blood cells are exposed in tiny capillaries to air containing oxygen and carbon dioxide. Red cells exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen molecules and then flow to the heart, where they are pumped through a network of artery vessels that transport the oxygenated blood throughout the body. Plasma, which is primarily made of water, provides fluidity in the vessels to keep blood cells flowing. Along with the oxygen carried by the red cells, plasma also delivers vital nutrients to the tissue cells. When oxygen is released to the tissues, red blood cells then pick up carbon dioxide waste and then travel back to the heart through a network of veins. The heart then pumps the carbon-saturated blood back to the tiny capillaries in the lungs, where red cells release the carbon dioxide molecules in trade for fresh oxygen molecules, and this occurs in an endless cycle. The kidneys and skin also play key roles in helping filter and eliminate waste from the blood. The average adult has 5 liters of blood in the circulatory system, which is circulated and filtered 24 to 36 times every single day.
Now to continue our discussion, always remember that exercising is very beneficial to our body in order to maintain a healthy and a better functioning heart and lungs. We have here a list of benefits of doing exercise for the heart and lungs. 1. It improves the capacity of lungs. 2. It increases the blood flow to our lungs and to deliver more oxygen into the blood. 3. It lowers the risk of heart disease. 4. It improves cholesterol and lowers blood pressure. 5. It helps the heart muscle more efficient to pump blood throughout the body. We are now done with our discussion about the respiratory system and circulatory system. This time, let us apply what you have learned through this activity entitled 4 Picks 1 Essay. We have here the 4 pictures and I want you to answer this question. How do the scenarios in the pictures affect your respiratory and circulatory systems? For the reflection, kindly get your notebook and your pen and complete the following sentence prompts. I have learned that. I wish to ask my teacher about. Now we are down to the last part of our lesson. We are going to assess what you have learned. Directions: choose the letter of the correct answer and write it in your notebook. Number 1. What type of circulation moves blood between the heart tissues? A. Blood circulation. B. Coronary circulation. C. Systemic circulation. D. Pulmonary circulation. Number 2. What is the function of the pulmonary valve? A. It pumps blood and transports oxygen to every cell of the body. B. It increases the blood flow to our lungs and deliver more oxygen. C. It is where the blood enters and exits in the heart for the circulation. D. It prevents blood in pulmonary circulation from flowing back into the heart during diastole. Number 3. What happens to the diaphragm when a person inhales? A. It relaxes. B. It contracts. C. It moves away. D. It does not move. Number 4. Which blood vessel is the site for the exchange of gases and nutrients in the body? A. Arteries. B. Capillaries. C. Veins. D. Vena cava. Number 5. The following shows activities that help the heart and lungs to function properly except blank. A. David walks from his house to his school. B. Myra makes sure she gets 8 hours of sleep. C. Jack buys sandwich and fresh milk during recess. D. Roy doesn't smoke, but he doesn't mind going out with his friends who smoke often. For test 2, identify the different parts of the heart. Choose your answer from the box below. Just pause this video for a while for you to continue answering. Amazing grade 9 learners for finishing all our activities. Reminder, your science activity notebook will be collected by your science teacher. Contact your science teacher after finishing the lesson.